All right. I believe we're online now.
Yeah,
All right.
hopefully. Oh yeah, we're good. Okay,
Yeah. Okay. Shall I start?
sure.
All right. Awesome. So, welcome everyone to the second episode of Opportunities in Biodiversity. Today, we will be talking about political and environmental science, and specifically how our opportunities and our experiences have shaped the pathway that we are on. So, my name is Alex. I'm the Organizational and Development Coordinator for the Canadian Youth Biodiversity Network.
I'm Francine. I'm also one of the organizational development coordinators for SciBin, and today we're just going to talk about a bit of the things that we're doing and a bit about our career path. We are going to have 2 minutes after the presentation or the talk for questions, but feel free to put them in the chat below at any time, and we'll answer them after.
Also, feel free to message us personally. We're very open people and we love to talk to new people. All right, so we're going to talk about our past for a little bit and explain who we are and where we've come from. So I'm going to take it a little further back. I'm 22 years old. In high school is when I first started my environmental passions. I started because of it's called a SHISM, a special high skills major in the environment. And basically that opportunity allowed high school students to engage in the field that they really are passionate about. So I was very passionate for the environment, and I was able to get certifications, meet new people and network, and most importantly, do a co-op. And that co-op led me to my first experiences working with a non-for-profit called Protect Our Water and Environmental Resources, which is a local organization. After high school, I decided to continue my passion for environmental science, and I majored in environmental science at the University of Guelph. This was an amazing program that allowed me various opportunities and a lot of freedom in choosing what I wanted to learn about because it didn't really have any restrictions. Because of that, I was able to go to Ecuador and study insects, which was an absolutely amazing experience and opened my eyes to insects, especially because before I did not like them. During my time at university, I worked. Francine and I both worked for various non-for-profits, each of them getting a little bit bigger. So we first started with a local organization, Power, and then we got a little bit bigger. We worked for Sierra Club Canada, Coalition on the Niagara Escarpment, and Ontario Environmental Network. And that really shaped what we were doing and who we met. And because of those experiences and those job opportunities, we were able to go to the Convention on Biological Diversity, the intersessional meetings in Montreal, to eventually start the Canadian Youth Biodiversity Network. And then after my undergrad, I was a little bit confused, mainly because there were so many things that I loved. I loved youth engagement. I loved the environment. How can I do both? And I wound up at the University of Waterloo studying youth engagement for my master's, which I'm doing right now. And I love it because I'm engaging with so many different youth and understanding different ways to protect the environment, not just from the traditional environmental science lens. Yeah, Francine?
So I also went to the University of Guelph. I started in wanting to become a vet because I really did have a passion for animals, and that's what really drove me to go to Guelph. And then obviously I met Alex, and we started working together at the local level, and that really brought me towards policy and the politics of everything. So I got my major in political science at the University of Guelph. I switched over to a completely different field, but it was much more rewarding in my experience or in my opinion as well. And I was able to learn about the environmental field as well. So it wasn't just thinking about animal welfare from the small animal point of view. You were thinking about it agriculturally. You were thinking about it from wildlife point of view, and like there's a lot of policy that shapes things that really makes an impact that people don't really see. So that really drove me. And then I really fell in love with my major. I love my field. And that drove me towards my master's in political science at the University of Ottawa, where I will also be studying animal welfare and environmental politics. So I also started working with Alex, and it's very similar where we worked and how our experiences shaped us, even though we came from completely different fields.
And it's funny because we influenced each other's lives, because I never thought I would be anywhere near the political world and understanding policy, but I understand such an importance to it, especially when it comes to the sustainable development goals and understanding that the environment is connected to everything. So you can't support the environment, but disregard social and economic welfare. So it's been a huge and amazing experience, working with different people and never saying no to opportunities.
Yeah, and I mean, like, it's a really like awesome story how we ended up in NGOs together. Like, a lot of people don't really consider it, or they don't know much about it to be able to go into the field or into that sector. Like, for example, being someone who was in politics, it's really just like not something you think about doing. Being in like an environmental NGO, you might think, oh, I'm not suited for this. But like, again, we learned so much. I learned how to map. I learned how to identify invasive species. I learned so much that I didn't know I could learn, right?
Non-for-profits are also a really good idea. For those who can't get jobs in the related fields, you can at least volunteer in these fields. Like Francine and I still volunteer with these organizations till this day because we are super passionate about the work that they're doing. And not only that, it opens up our mindset and to work with other organizations that are like-minded. So we started off with just working with a local organization, but we ended up on this very grand national stage where we can converse with other youth who are also passionate about these ideas, and try to work with that. So my biggest recommendation is that if you're struggling, don't be afraid to go local and expand, because we didn't know the pathway that we were going to be on or where we were going to be out. Honestly, when at the end of my undergrad, I was very confused of what I wanted to do, but I could not be happier where I am. So yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like, I don't know how to explain it. Like, if it weren't for the experiences we had, we wouldn't have been able to form Side because, like you said, it all starts from like this very small level, and you get so wide, and it's like, wow, you didn't expect it to happen like that. But it only happens when you actually go and you like start at that smaller level and you get involved, right? Because there's so many different ways to get involved, but I don't think a lot of people know.
Yep.
Even if it's volunteering, it's great.
Yep. So, for example, at the beginning of our working, we were really on the ground. We were mapping. We were working with other youth. We're really hands on the ground. We were physically removing invasive species. And as we got to different organizations who were more policy level, we were working with organizations trying to protect the Niagara Escarpment or trying to protect Ontario's biodiversity by working with other different organizations. So it's really easy to meet people when you're within that non-for-profit route, because there's so many people who are a part of different organizations that it's not just one organization. Chances are they're a part of many organizations, and it's just tapping into that network. It was incredibly valuable and has really shaped all of the meaningful contributions that I've been making.
Yeah, and like you said, it's a network. Like, if we started with one person, which shout out to Leslie Adams, who was our boss. She helped us learn and meet all these different people, and that's how we started networking. And what I think you notice a lot once you get more into that environmental NGO sector is that there are a lot of people who are willing to mentor you. There are a lot of people who rely on the youth to continue the work that they started years ago.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to speak to the work that I'm doing right now for my master's. I am evaluating youth service programs in Canada and figuring out how organizations can work to enable youth within their organizations to increase the impact that they have on their communities. Because it's been identified that youth actually have such a meaningful contributions within organization because we're innovative, where we have many ideas, we just need support. That organizations are now looking to figure out how to support youth. So we're in a very unique position that we can strive and we can have opportunities that many youth didn't have before us. It's just about taking those opportunities.
Yeah, and like when you go to these like from an NGO to even a bigger platform like the UN, like the CBD's meeting, the Convention on Biodiversity, um, you see that there is really an importance for youth. Like when we worked for any NGO, like it was like, wow, you're so young and you're so interested in this work and you know so much.
Mhm.
But we didn't start knowing this much. It's all about the experience you get, and that's what's really valuable about working with NGOs.
We're also going to highlight the fact that like not a lot of youth know how to reach out to organizations, or they don't really understand how to do that. Like we want our network to be an area where you can feel comfortable in approaching us, and we can get you connected with organizations within your local area or within your regional area. Because realistically, like if I didn't meet the people I did in high school, I wouldn't have had these opportunities either. So we're really interested in helping you guys engage with your own community to impact Canada's biodiversity.
Yeah, and that's what Cyben's all about. We're a network, and we want you to be able to find people who have similar interests and gain experience that way too. So that was great. I think we're going to just summarize what we talked about a bit there. So we have a lot of advice from our point of view that you guys might find beneficial. So our first is get involved, like talk to people, reach out, get your foot in the door, make sure that people know who you are, because that's how you start gaining that name and that like value,
And
right?
there's it's not that scary either. I think there's a little stigma around it. It just shooting an email and saying, "Hey, I'm really passionate about this. Can I at least volunteer with you guys?" And it could be little things that you're volunteering, but it could be amazing things as well.
Yeah, and that's I think our second point, be passionate. Like if you're really passionate about it, go for it. And it's not gonna be like the most difficult thing. It's not gonna be the most easy thing, but it's definitely worth pursuing. And it's in the NGO field, you do get like that support and that mentorship that maybe you might not be able to get anywhere else. And then, like like we said, we came from two different fields completely. But don't think that your field means that you have to stick to one thing. I started in politics, or I'm in politics, and you'd be surprised how impactful that is in the environmental sector. You could be in the health field, you could be in like engineering, but I mean everything's going to be related to environmental factors at the end of the day too.
Yeah.
And lastly, ask for help. I think one of the most important things we learned from our mentors was ask for help. It's going to be very hard to get a no from a lot of the people in the NGO sector. People love to help you out. It's um it's just really rewarding. Plus, like Alex mentioned, a shameless plug, join us, become a member of Cyben, shoot us an email, and we'll definitely be able to try to help you out to pursue the way we did.
We're very interested in figuring out where you want to fit. If it's not with Simon, it doesn't need to be, but we at least want to help you figure out how you want to help the environment and how to help yourself as well. It's very important. Um,
Yeah. So I think we're going to move on to the questions. During the next 2 minutes, we're going to start answering some questions. If anyone has any, let us know. I know there's one in already, and it's, are there any policies that you can identify that consider all three pillars, the society, the economy, and the environment? Um, I feel like many of them do. I feel like to the extent like even like the post 2020 framework and which is being discussed right now from the Convention on Biodiversity, it does come through the society. How does it impact the groups in society? That's why there's a table for women, there's a table for NGOs, there's a table for youth. So that really has that. The economic factors, it's that they do kind of discuss it in some way where it's like,
yeah.
how are we gonna help? And there's like a lot of
Sustainable resources
there
and
we go, yes,
yeah, so
thank
they
you.
yeah, the sustainable development goals and all the things that are happening globally really pay attention to those society, economy and economy and environmental pillars, because it really tries to, it understands that every country has different needs, but the basis is that those three pillars really support people and try to aid in their welfare.
Yeah, and I mean, even in Canada, that is a really good question, because every piece of policy you see is going to have that make the economic like how is it going to affect the economy, how is it going to affect every member of society, and which is something very important here, because we do have Indigenous groups that we need to consider when we're doing anything with the environment. And obviously we have those discussions, and I'd say almost every federal framework in Canada has all three of those pillars involved.
There's also something to be said about just past policies. So working with different sectors, like the financial sector, who's like really large in the economy, can actually have such a major impact on societal and environmental welfare. So what is really sustainable banking? And there, in addition, there's in every sector, there's a way you can improve in either social, environmental, and economic factors. You can improve. It's just the fact that we have to start thinking about this and being innovative about these ideas.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and like you mentioned, it is something that we definitely consider when we do anything. We have policy coordinators, and the three pillars. Obviously, we care about the environment as our main foundation, but there is something to say within society, and we're a group in society. Our group is actually, as of now, all women. So we're a group of women, and we're youth. So we're a group of youth women, right? So it is something we always consider.
Yeah. A great example is like the Black Lives Matter movement, which is going on, and we're very supportive of the Black community, and understanding that though we care about the environment, that doesn't mean we need to undermine any other communities or groups, because they are also struggling. The sustainability is about supporting us all as a community.
Yeah, and then another question is, what is the most rewarding experience in the NGO field? And I think it's when we were able to be mentored for so long, and we were finally mentoring other people. We were able to work with a lot of youth through our NGO experience, and we were able to help them with the doubts that we might have had in our past, where it was like, I want to become a doctor, how am I supposed to care about the environment? And it's really just building that connection.
Another valuable experience is just being at those meetings in Montreal. Just because we started so local, we couldn't really picture how it was going to translate to the global scale, but just being at those meetings, talking to them, like I was even on the Canadian delegation, which was something completely crazy. But it was an amazing experience, and just being at them, it was great. One of the best experiences of my life.
Yeah, I mean, it was awesome. But I think that's it for questions. Again, if anyone has anything else they want to ask, please shoot us an email at gybncanada@gmail.com, and one of us will reply. And
next week,
sure to tune.
Next week we have an amazing discussion on the United Nations, and some of our coordinators are going to deep dive into that, and it's absolutely impeccable. We're very thankful everybody could join us today, and yeah. Don't hesitate to reach out. Okay.
Yeah.